Hi, my gorgeous Scorpios. This is your astrology for October for all sun, moon, rising, and Venus signs in Scorpio. It's funny because I wanted to say in home, and I don't know. That might just mean, having to do with, the fourth house or your core in general. But a home was like in your home is what was trying to come out. There is a whole lot going on with spirit. But before I get into giving you what spirit has to say and then I jump into the astrology, I want to make sure that I explain, first off, if you are coming to me on these astrology readings and it's Venus that you're after, understand that Venus, when I deal with Venus and the astrology, very rarely is it showing for me in the forms of love. It is typically showing up in the forms of sensitivity, whether it's good or negative, positive or negative. Usually when Venus comes up in astrology for me, that usually has to deal with sensitivities, not necessarily love. So if you're looking for the love reading, I'm sorry, go find someone else because you're not going to be finding it here unless they happen to put it out that way. And I just wanted to make sure I threw that out. Second off, sun, moon, rising, Venus signs, but I am going to be giving it from Scorpio's point of view. But it is a little bit generic, and I do apologize. But I'm trying to make the videos only in 30 minutes, and I can't hit every aspect in 30 minutes. So I'm going to cover the month of what is the main highlights that are going on so that, you have a good oomph of what's going on. And then obviously, if you need your own private appointments, something more direct for you directly, you could always see the information down below on how to book your own appointments. Also, if you do enjoy the readings, please subscribe, but also go back and check out the tarot because the tarot may be speaking to you about some other information, and just check the playlists because I have them all into their playlist so that it's easier for you to find. With that being said, Spirit is saying there's a lot going on with communication and Saturn. Because I also just wanted to call you, not even Scorpio, I wanted to call you Saturn. And Spirit is definitely directing these two importance to me. And they're giving it to me, Saturn with Virgo, actually. And for me, the way that I would interpret this is, really paying attention to, it might be that sixth house universally, since we are speaking of Virgo, but Virgo is the anal retentive detail organizer, more or less. So it's paying attention to details about what's coming in and what does and doesn't serve your rules, walls, your boundaries. So what are you allowing to happen that doesn't serve you? Where do you need to put the walls up? Where do you need to adjust them? And where are you not communicating it? Because I'm definitely getting frustrated and I feel like you're being pushed down in some areas because you're frustrated with it and you're not coming right out and saying what has to be said. They are saying it's definitely dealing with relationships, but it is technically Libra season. And that does mean we're dealing with relationships anyway. And everybody's kind of going through some grief, sorrow, shame, blame, burdens, pride of what we're trying to adjust within our relationships at this time. But I feel like the most important part here is the core that you are magnifying to yourself, whether it's positive or negative. And where in some of your negativities you need to rise above. Trust your intuition. Trust what Spirit is trying to help you see. See, hear, know. And then actually take action in that as you move forward. I am definitely paying attention to the third eye and the crown. It will help you move forward. But there's definitely, very sensitive energy going on with what you are willing to say and the rules, walls, and boundaries that I feel like are happening in your everyday life that you're not living up to speaking about. And I think in some of these cases, it's because you're also dealing with the sacral chakra about how you feel about yourself. It is sexual frustration that I'm getting, but I'm getting it more in the lines, I think, of how you feel about yourself within that sacral chakra energy. And some of that has to do with shame, is what they're saying. Feeling shame and overcoming that in some form. Now, that's pretty much what I'm getting from Spirit. Is there anything else? They're making sure I know right off the bat, understand Mercury retrograde will be coming in the middle of the month. And I say the middle of the month because that's when the shadow comes in. The shadow, you can probably expect to start noticing it around the 14th. And that has everything to do with, the communication, also starting to look at the more negative aspects prior to actually going retrograde on Halloween. Yeah, Halloween day. Okay, we have a sip. Before I get into the houses and so forth, let me go over some of the main aspects for you. Okay, right off the bat, we're starting off the month with Pluto going direct on the 3rd. Now, everybody's been talking about Pluto going direct on the 3rd. What they're not talking about is Mercury is also moving into Scorpio, your sign, on the 3rd, the same day that Pluto goes direct. Now, I've been saying to everybody, Pluto has been, it's been, for all intents and purposes, just stopped. And with Saturn so close to it just going direct, it's felt like everything has just been kind of like floating, like you're waiting for the next shoe to drop, so to speak. And I don't necessarily mean in a positive or a negative way. It just feels like there's not movement. Things are stagnant. You can't seem to really get past anything. And that's because Saturn's still in that shadow period. And Pluto is just getting ready to go direct. And then they'll both start to move. But yet they're still both in shadow. So you have to understand they're catching up that momentum to start moving forward again. So it will start to feel like things are, starting, like the dust is starting to settle. And you're starting to see the changes and make the changes and start to go forward. But you'll be feeling this over the month as they both are coming out of shadow. Again, Mercury is going into Scorpio, your sign, on the 3rd. Now, on the 4th, you have Mars moving into Libra. I'm going to go over all of this with you in a few minutes. Then on the 8th, you have Venus also moving into Scorpio. So you have these sensitive energies, this communication, and it's about to be going shadow in your sign, your core energy, plus sensitivity is coming in to Scorpio. Going to be adding to that communication along with some of that darker aspect as it flips into shadow mid-month. Then you have on the 13th, which is a Sunday, is the full moon. They are definitely highlighting sensitivity for you on the full moon. Now, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing or a good thing. That just means Spirit is highlighting it's a sensitive thing, and they're giving me 808, so major abundance is coming in on that day. It all is important to how you project that energy, and that's not for everybody. I'm only getting that for Scorpio. And sensitivity has to do with, whether you're positive or negative. You feel everything in the most positive way, the ooey gooey, soft and chewy, yay, I'm in new love, super, magnificent if you're in a positive, sensitive way, especially in the full moon, or if it's bitterness, blame, shame, let me point the finger. I've been mistreated and lied to. I mean, your sensitivity can go any way and spread like wildfire. 808, abundance. So watch where your head is and your emotional thinking on that full moon, because you're definitely projecting energy. Again, that is the 13th. It takes place in Aries. Now let's see where that actually is for you. That's your universal 6th house. And this is part of what I was saying right off the bat. I feel like Spirit was saying rules, laws, and boundaries in Virgo. But that's the universal 6th house. For you, that full moon is your 6th house, which happens to be Aries. Okay? So this is a brand new starting point. In Aries, we feel everything to the 9s. again, because very me first energy, very fire first energy, very all about me, and I'm ready to go, and I've made a new decision, and I'm going to do this, and la 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 la, and then if it doesn't work out, I'm bored with it, and we're going to move on to something else. But the meek feel strong when the moon is in Aries. So those who are afraid to speak up have no problem speaking up. And like he said, you're coming right into that energy of when Mercury is also starting to go shadow. You know, and I'm letting you know Aries is a brand new beginning point. It's a brand new starting point. It's also an alpha energy with fire backing it up, me first energy. And it's talking about your daily routines and what happens in your daily routines, your daily patterns, your everyday, daily, mundane tasks. Those things are going to be bringing themselves into attention to whether they're serving you or they're not serving you on that full moon. Those daily patterns, those daily routines. And like I always say, the people, the places, and the things that we keep in those daily routines are the energies that we're consuming within those daily patterns and routines. So it's going to be showing you if these are good patterns that are healthy for you or very unhealthy ones, as well as the people, the places, and the things. It's going to illuminate that because that's what the full moon is. Like I said, I feel, the sensitivity coming in with that, but I am getting purple energy, which could be, creativity within that crown chakra as well. So this could be very spiritually, soulfully, something learning for you. Again, that's the 13th. It's a Sunday, and that's the full moon in Aries. Now, remember, you also have full moons are 3 days long, the way I look at them technically. The main day is the second day. But prior to that, it's going to be slipping through through Pisces. And on a universal level, Pisces is the end of a cycle. So Aries is the beginning of a cycle. It's also that universal 12th house. But for you specifically, that's your 5th house. So it's also going to be speaking to you. I put the wrong thing over here. This is me knowing my stuff, but I like to have my notes in front of me because, there might be something important that I need to say there in the notes, and it's just not programmed in my head. So I like to have them in front of me so that I know what I'm talking about, but I threw them off to the side because I wasn't thinking about it. So let me make sure I put this all together. Look at my mess. So that I can make sure that this all makes sense for you. What I'm saying is the day before on the 12th, which is Saturday, it may be bringing up some subconscious energies, some hidden self, some karmic debt, self-deception, self-sacrifice, self-undoing, some of that grief, sorrow, shame, blame. It's where the skeletons in the closet start showing their skeletons in the closet. So you may see that stuff starting to be, brought to the surface prior to, anything else that happens on that full moon day. On the 13th, so Saturday and Sunday, might be showing itself to you, especially taking it into, your own personal creativity about your pursuit of pleasure. Where is pleasing everybody else more important than pleasing yourself? Where are you not being able to find that creativity that helps you be yourself? Where is it keeping you from having your creative expression? Because of other situations that are going on. Your 5th house speaks to you of your childlike energy, your inner child, your creativity, your pursuit of pleasure. It's also where, lovers start to meet, fall in love, and get to know each other. It's also where hobbies, sports, anything that is creative expression of who and what you are and what you enjoy is brought into your attention. Then that full moon is going into that daily routines and mundane tasks and patterns and health and diet and what's good for you and what is not, right down to the people, places, and things. So I'm letting you know, considering I'm being told, 808, and I'm being told major sensitive abundance coming in, these are things that you're definitely going to be acknowledging. On the 23rd, the sun enters Scorpio. Then we enter Scorpio season. On the 27th, you have a new moon in Scorpio. Okay, so this month, even though it's supposed to be Libra season, it's really like all Scorpio. Okay, then you have the Halloween, which is Samhain. On the 31st, Mercury goes retrograde on that day, but you also have a major powerful day going on with that because you have the moon, Ceres, and Jupiter in Sagittarius. Now, before I actually start getting into the houses and look them over for you, I want to remind you, everybody is calling this Libra season, and it is, but they're kind of getting it a little bit wrong because they're not looking at other, planets, asteroids, comets, and stuff in their astrology that I happen to be looking at. This is where Spirit directs me. How Maya is in Libra. This speaks to you of your collective consciousness. Okay? It is your collective consciousness and the lotus flower. For you, that's your universal 12th house right now. Your universal 12th house, is going to have Mars still in it. It's going to have Mars in it, the sun in it up until the 23rd. It's going to have Haumea in it and Make in it. So you're definitely illuminating those skeletons in the closet. That shit that you like to hide from yourself has no choice but to be finding its way to the surface. The skeletons that have skeletons in the closet. The shit you've been in denial about. You haven't wanted to heal. You haven't wanted to view. You haven't wanted to look at. Your karmic debts. Your subconscious energy. Your hidden self. Your self-deception. Your self-undoing. Your self-sacrifice. The frustrations of the past that you don't want to tolerate, your grief, your sorrow, your shame, your blame, all of that shit that you're trying to hide and bury won't stay buried. It's coming up because the sun is there illuminating it, making you see it. Mars is there trying to make you feel good about yourself and overcome it. Become the powerful being that you are, trying to make you start to, get back into that sacral chakra and believe in yourself again. And then, allow that creative expression and feeling to come back to life and bring it into a whole new level of illuminating yourself, because it's about to all move the following month into your core, into your first house. But this is a healing time of this shit coming up and kind of throwing itself in your face so that growth can be made. Haumea is the collective consciousness. It's making you conscious of what you don't want to have to be conscious of. But Make is there asking you, are you going to continue to live in the muddy, murky water? Because the lotus flower, Make is the growth of the lotus flower. And it grows out of the dirty, nasty water. And then it breaks through that frothy funk. And then it starts to stretch and bloom. Spirit is saying, why can't you rise, grow, stretch to the sun and smell the blooming of the lotus flower? You got to get out of the muddy, murky water. If you can't see through the shit, because it's all you're allowing yourself to see is the shit, then you can't find the light to rise to. You have to remind yourself that is a conscious thing within that third eye and that crown energy, helping to motivate you and pull you up. And you have to connect to that in order to do that. You also have Vista, which is in retrograde, but nobody's going to be speaking to you about that. That's sacrificing commitment. Speaking only to you about what's important to you. And we'll check it out in a minute, because this is actually, I think, going to move into 2 videos. I'm going to try to speed it up, but if I can't, sorry. At least that way I didn't leave you hanging. Palace is also in Scorpio in your sign. That is Athena, the warrior goddess, using strategic thinking about healing yourself and how to place everything in your life like so to start making it do exactly what you want to, creating your own reality. And then you have Ura, which is, no, Vista is the soul fire. Sorry, and it is in retrograde, only talking to you. Ura is sacrificing commitment, and it's in Virgo this whole time. So let me see what we got going on as I look at most of this. We have, you're going to have Venus, Mercury, and Pallas. Strategic thinking, communication, and sensitivity. And the core, your very self-awareness. But with Mercury going into shadow, it's going to be talking to you about the things that you don't like of the world that affect your very core, affect your self-awareness, affect your appearance, your identification, your image, your view of life. It is going to be picking at some of those darker aspects with sensitivity, but you have Pallas here, which is definitely bringing in a positivity, helping you to strategically think and strategize how to shift what's going on with your own self-awareness and how you view the world around you, as well as how you want to be viewed, and change the personality, tweak the personality so that you can help yourself move forward in a more positive, healing way, because you are definitely seeing things, around you or about yourself that, Mercury is going to be communicating, starting to go into shadow and picking a little bit at the darker parts. Venus won't have any choice but to pick at those darker parts as soon as Mercury starts hitting shadow. And then, like I said, on Halloween, it will be going retrograde. So it will be speaking in a form to that 12th house. Even though you're not going to want it to, it's going to. I'm warning you. Now, you have in the second house for you, happens to be Jupiter. And this is where, on Halloween Day, all this energy is going to be building up to Halloween Day. Okay? And for you, that is your self-value. I want to say self-wealth. That's what's trying to come out. But it is also your money house. It is also your money house and your position, your possessions. And self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. Jupiter here is helping you connect with a higher self of yourself that you're not used to connecting with. Ceres is coming closer to Jupiter and is going to connect with the moon, both of them on Halloween. But up until Halloween, Samhain, you're getting Jupiter, which is coming closer, Ceres, which is coming closer to Jupiter in that second house, which happens to be Sagittarius for you. Getting more in depth with that higher self, self-wealth, self-wealth again, self-wealth, self-worth, self-esteem, self-value, as well as how you create and spend your money. But Ceres is going to be speaking to you about how you properly nurture yourself, or you've been neglecting yourself, because she's going to be bringing the abundance of whichever one it is that you need to see to you. And Jupiter, Jupiter is an expansion planet. So whether it's whether it's been nurturing, you've been nurturing your self-worth, self-value, self-esteem, and self-wealth, obviously, or you've been neglecting it, Ceres, as she gets closer to that energy in Halloween, she's going to magnify that. And the moon is going to definitely triple up on that come Halloween. So this whole month is building to you coming to a new level of self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. And obviously, considering I keep saying it, self-wealth. Now, you're going to be acknowledging that all month long. Now, as you get into that third house, this is your communication area. And that's what Spirit was saying you're having some issues with, is communication at this time. The communication house is the third house, but that also happens to be for you where Capricorn is. And that is where Pluto is about to go direct. That is where Saturn just went direct. And they're still kind of be in shadow, even though they're going to be direct. They're still picking up momentum and figuring out those rules, those walls, those boundaries that have to shift, how exactly we're going to go about it, what have we not quite chosen to see, and shadows forcing us to see it within the community, as Spirit is saying, and how are you going to communicate that positively forward. And they're giving me an 11. So this is definitely a manifestation point and a beginning point of understanding how you're going to communicate with proper rules, walls, boundaries, how you're going to communicate in healthy ways so that others hear you and that you are hearing them, as well as, you know what I'm saying? So the communication is, I'm getting, so the throat chakra is very open, and the throat chakra is not only about you speaking, it's also about you hearing, okay? And you have these two planets that just went retrograde with the south node there. So it's automatically saying something about your normal communication isn't necessarily serving you, and there is definitely a learning point here that will help shift and make it all better, but you have to acknowledge what that is so that communication can become strong. But like I said, I'm being given 11, so there's something definitely here as like a snapshot, a pay attention point that will help you realize, oh, right there's the thing that I need to start doing when I communicate, you know, or when somebody else is communicating with me, you know, to help you start to move into that more positive form and change that into a more healthy growth is what I'm being given. A new healthy light, because they're giving me some serious bright light right now. So it's bringing something into a new light of how to communicate in a new way for you. And you're going to be acknowledging that this month. Now you have, in the fourth house, you don't have anything special going on. This is Aquarius. This is not good or bad, but it definitely doesn't harm you. It just means there's no planets going on here to go for or against you. It just means that you are still dealing with your inner emotional security, your karmic lessons, and your own personal reincarnation of who and what you are naturally. You don't have anything else there trying to reshape it in any form. When you get into your fifth house, though, which is your creativity house, that pursuit of pleasure, this is where Neptune is still in retrograde. And Lilith is pretty much sitting right on top of it. This is definitely speaking to you about that sacral chakra again. Lilith is, you know, our inner sexual temptress. She questions us on our sacral chakra about how we feel about ourselves and what we believe we're capable of. And are we willing to chance that, because she's the dark temptress, okay? With Neptune here in retrograde, there is some old ideas that we're holding on to that isn't serving us, because Neptune in retrograde is going to also easily dig up the past, nostalgia. And this is how we have to learn about creating positive magic versus negative magic for your very own inner child, your inner creativity, your inner pursuit of pleasure. What makes you happy and enjoy life? This is also where, like I said, love finds its first idea, its first place. It's where the creativity of that all blooms. Where are you not getting that coming forward in positive ways? Where is that inner belly dancer not feeling good about being that inner belly dancer? Neptune is where fantasy smacks you in the face with harsh reality. And it can only be smacking you in the face with harsh reality if you are still holding on to the ideas you've created for yourself from nostalgia. This is not saying we're looking in the past. We might look at the past of what something has been in the past, but this is not who you are anymore. Who you were in the past is something completely different. This is how we move forward and we grow and mature and find joy and happiness and our creative expression, and allow our inner child to be able to breathe and be free and help us to expand our own authenticity by finding what we enjoy in life. So it's a very positive time for you to take a chance at, you know, creating some of your own magic, but do not create it from nostalgia, because Lilith there will be pulling you into that sacral chakra of things that would not help you. This is about learning from the past and changing so that you know how to expand on that creativity in ways that you didn't know how to before, or that you didn't express before, helping that inner child breathe and having growth in the very pursuit of pleasure. Now, I know it's going to shut off in just a second, so I'm going to tell you, if you want to hear from the sixth house out, please check part 2. Love you guys.